On page 221, you have to look at this question at the top of the page. Why can the rescuers pull Asina out? This is the answer. Because the bodies of her brothers and sisters are clinging to her legs. So because of the bodies of her brothers and sisters clinging to her legs, nobody can pull her out. Can you imagine a situation how hard it is? Now, you can see here the three numbers 1, 2, 3. These numbers, okay, tell you the tries Ralph uh, or the ways Ralph tried to rescue Asina's life. Number one, using Paul's drops. Number two, asking a couple soldiers. Number three, asking for a pump. The first try failed, so he moved to the second try when he asked a couple soldiers to pull her out, but they had left him because they wanted to rescue other victims. Number three, Ralph thinks that using a pump is the best solution because the pump is used to drain water. So pump is the best solution to pull her out. Okay. Now, what I want to focus on these lines because these lines is the answer of this question here. The question says, how does Asina's resignation contrast with Ralph's attitude and actions? You have to know the difference between Asina's attitude and Ralph's attitude. These lines tell that Asina will accept her fate, her death. But the reporter Ralph is determined to control the situation and to pull her up, okay? And to pull her up. Now, look at these lines. He concluded that he will have to have a pump to drain the water and wrote a request for one, but received in return a message that there was no available transport. So here the figure of speech is irony because you know that irony when you expect something to happen but the opposite happens here. So the irony here that you expect the president and the politicians to bring that, um, but let's say that um, the politicians and the president um, give no answer for that. Okay, so here is irony, and you have to know that pump here is a symbol of the lack of compassion. Okay, now next page. Here, I wanted to highlight these lines that Asina began telling him about her small life, about her family and her school. Uh, Here, Ralph is trying to distract her to lose her attention, and he is waiting for the pump. Okay, and he is telling Asina about his adventures, and he used his imagination and inventing things just to entertain her. Okay, now I wanted to move to page 223 and highlight the first four lines. Here, Isabel, the author, the narrator, and Ralph, Carla's girlfriend, watched Asina and begged the president to bring the pump, but the president himself refused to do that because he said no transport because you know that um, the streets and roads were destroyed because of the eruption. So I want you to answer this question or to complete this statement. Isabel Andy seems to believe politicians are ineffective. Why? Because they didn't bring the pump. So I want you just to write the word ineffective. Andy seems to believe politicians are ineffective. Okay? Now, I want you to highlight the first two lines and to know what things weakened Asina: immobility and tension. Immobility, which means not moving. And here I want to highlight the first two lines. Reporters return to photograph Asin and ask her the same questions, which has no longer tried to answer. The girl is so tired here. Now, I wanted to highlight these lines, and I want you to know that I knew everything, my love. Isabel is talking about her love, Ralph, who is determined to rescue Asina's life, and she compares the mud okay, to a present. So here a metaphor. Okay, now I want you to look at this question here. Why are Asina and Rolf in a stupor of exhaustion? Stupor, which means shock. Why? Because they spent most of the night talking, each in a stupor of exhaustion and hunger. Both suffered from hunger, shaking with cold. So because of that, they were very exhausted. Okay, and he's trying to distract her by telling her Austrian folk songs. Okay. I want you to move to the last lines and write the word flashback. You know that flashback means returning to past when the author returns to his past or his childhood is called flashback, okay? You have to know that the situation of Asina reminds Ralph of his childhood because Ralph uh, faced or Ralph suffered from painful memories. So here you have to number three terrible memories. So this is the answer of this question here. That the question says, what terrible memories does Ralph have from his childhood? So these are the three terrible memories. Number one, whipping, which means hit by belt. His father kept whipping him by belt. Okay, which means that his father was a violent man. Number two, the second terrible memory is armor, and armor means cabinet, closet. Um, you have to know that Ralph's father locked Ralph in a closet or in a cabinet or armor when he was a child, which means Ralph suffered from darkness. The third terrible memory is his sister, Katharina. Katharina, his sister, was sweet and retarded. Focus on the word retarded, which means slow mental development, which means that his sister was retarded. She has this ability, and her father kept her hiding. Okay, so these are the three terrible memories: whipping, armor, and his sister Katharina. Now I want you to move to page 227 and highlight the first lines. Don't cry, I don't hurt you anymore. You have to know that Ralph was crying and Asina was crying, but not for him, for herself. So here is an irony because you expect Asina crying for her for Ralph, but actually she is crying for herself. Okay, she is crying for herself, not for Ralph. So this is irony. I want you to move to the next page and focus on these lines. Now, Ralph Carla held Asina to his chest, and he gave up, and he knew that she sank slowly, and she looked like a flower in the mud. Okay, so here a metaphor that the author here compared uh, Asina to a flower in the mud. Okay, now I wanted to highlight these lines. This paragraph shows the reaction. Okay, this paragraph shows the reaction of Ralph Carla after Asina's death. You have to know that Isabel is telling us that he is not the same man. Okay, he looks different now because of Asina's death. Okay, now move to page 231 and look at the assessment practice here. Ralph Carla is sent to Asina Sound to report on the disaster. Number two, what happens to Ralph Carla during the second night? He stays with Asina. He relives the painful memories. The story's narrator follows what is happening with Asina and Ralph Carla by watching news coverage. And at the end of the story, the narrator says Ralph Carla is not the same man because he is lost in his painful past needs. Guys, I will send worksheet. I hope you can answer the questions. Okay.